Well, joining me now to discuss this from Brussels is Mahidur Rahman. He's the chief advisor to the UK chapter of the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or BNP. And from Copenhagen, we have Tasneem Khalil. He's a journalist and author of the book Jallad, Death Squads and State Terror in South Asia. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Tasneem, let me begin with you. Is there a Duterte-style crackdown taking place in Bangladesh right now?
Yes, Imran, thank you for having me. Yes, there is an ongoing campaign of extrajudicial executions taking place right now in Bangladesh.
Okay, let me ask you, Mahidur Rahman. Millions of drug addicts, millions hooked on methamphetamines, particularly yaba. Sheikh Hasina wants to do something about it. I guess you wouldn't disagree with the fact that something needs to be done. I'm assuming you only disagree with the methodology.
We obviously want something to be done, but not the way Sheikh Hasina and her law enforcement agency is practicing, because extrajudicial killing is taking place. There are a lot of innocent people, people are also being killed in the name of anti-drug campaign. So even though I am against any sort of extrajudicial killing or cross-firing, because they should be arrested and taken into custody for judicial hearing and everything, and after judge given the verdict, if they are proven guilty, they should be punished. But anyway, Bangladesh is going through a lot of political turmoil since 2005, inception of the present regime. 2014, 5th January, since the inception of this regime, they were unelected. It was not a participatory election, so therefore one-sided election, this party from the government. And since then, they have taken also an agenda to eliminate their opposition party in a very concerted way, in a gradual process, so that they can create one party in a state of rule in Bangladesh.
Okay.
So and, through this process, they are killing a lot of people.
Certainly. Let me ask you about the responsibility that lies with your party as well. If we look at the root of the problem, people point to the fact that in 2004, under Khalida Zia, you introduced this RAB, or Rapid Action Battalion, which is basically a death squad, according to human rights groups, that was enacted and introduced in 2004. Don't you also bear the responsibility for what's happening on the streets now, not just the Awami League?
No, we don't take, because RAB was introduced for the sake of serious terrorist activists or anything to handle them. And during the time of BNP, they were used not for the purpose of the political purpose, to serve the political purpose. RAB was not introduced, used, neither the law enforcement agency. The way Sheikh Hasina's government, unelected government, is doing this is worldwide, and Bangladeshi people, human rights organization, international community, everybody recognize that they are using the law enforcement agency for their political purpose, to serve their own,
Tasneem Khalil, you disagree. You're shaking your head in disagreement. Tell me why.
No, I mean, it's very interesting always to see when people find their conscience back. So that's a very nice thing I see in Mr. Rahman. Rapid Action Battalion was established by Khalida Zia, his leader, the leader of BNP. She was involved very much. I mean, she even decided what color of the dress, what color of the uniform RAB is going to wear, that is black. And they killed more than 900 people during BNP's time. 900 people extrajudicially executed, just like Awami League government, the Awami League regime is doing right now. So it is very, very unfortunate that a BNP spokesperson is here with us now, and he's denying that happened. Let me also remind him that in 2004, 2003, more than 50 people were tortured to death by Bangladesh Army, by the joint forces, at the direct orders of Khalida Zia and her cabinet. And they said all of them died of heart attacks as part of this operation they titled Operation Clean Heart. So I think, I mean, right now we know enough, and we have been talking about this for a very, very long time now. Now is not the time to just wash our hands of responsibility.
Right.
everyone needs to own up to what they did.
Okay, well, let's add from Singapore to the conversation Mohibul Hassan Chowdhry. He's the organizing secretary of Bangladesh's ruling party, the Awami League. Good to have you on the program. Lots of heavy accusations against Awami League. Basically, you guys are running death squads in the name of fighting drugs. It's the war on drugs, but you're extrajudicially killing people. And you know what? You're also taking out political opponents along the way. Is that true?
That is simply not true. The gentlemen from BNP have just said that this is a plot to attack their activists. If you look at the people who have recently perished, and of course I say that with heavy heart, none of them are from the BNP. We have started a campaign against drug dealers and drug peddlers, and also people who are involved in drug trading across the border with Myanmar. The ground reality is pretty different. Before I go into that, I just wanted to address what Mr. Khalil said. He had said that Bangladesh Army had done something. It is not simply true. During the time of the BNP government, it was not Bangladesh Army. So I must raise this flag here. It was the joint forces, which was a combination of many different law enforcement agencies who did that. So picking on a particular force is not the most fair thing. Regarding the recent campaign that we have started, the ground reality is different from our two gentlemen whom we are discussing with here. They don't live in Bangladesh.
Okay.
We live in Bangladesh.
So let me ask you,
and
Mohibul,
since the Rohingya crisis had begun,
let me ask you the question. More than 120 people dead, alleged drug dealers. We'll never know for sure because they never had their day in court. Are you absolutely convinced that every single one of those killings was justified?
Is not a single death is acceptable. Not a single death is acceptable.
So why are you killing them?
Let's be absolutely clear here. We are the party which subjected RAB individuals to prosecution. Since we came to power, there had been several incidents where out of alleged incidents, people had died, and we had investigated, prosecuted, and not only that, one of them had been given death sentence, death penalty by the civilian court, not even the military court. The recent drive that has started, you have to realize the ground reality here. Since the Rohingya crisis had begun, a lot of these drug dealers are heavily armed. They have brought in arms from other places, which we are realizing that since the Rohingya crisis had begun, situation in relation to drug smuggling in the border areas of Chittagong and the Cox's Bazar area had gone really out of control.
Okay.
And so the law enforcement agency have started this campaign. But I tell you one thing, none of this, I do not have to defend any of the killings because none of these are sanctioned by the state. These are casualties after a heavy encounter with the law enforcement agencies.
But of course they're sanctioned by the state, Mohibul.
Premeditated killing.
RAB,
and therefore, I don't have to be.
But hold on,
I don't have to be sure
hold on, Mohibul.
any of them are.
Hold on, Mohibul. You're saying you don't have to be defending the state because none of it is sanctioned by the state. RAB has been given a mandate by Sheikh Hasina to go and be tough.
That is not true. That is not true. Mr. Khalil doesn't even live in Bangladesh. How does he know who has given what mandate?
Why are we even having this conversation then?
You don't even live in Bangladesh. How do you know what is the ground reality?
I'm saying this to you. So hold on.
Well, can I?
Okay, so hold on.
I mean, Imran, are you going to allow me to respond to this?
Sitting thousands of miles away from Bangladesh,
everybody, let's take a breath.
You do not know what is the ground reality.
Let's take a breath. Let's take a breath.
You're
in Singapore right now.
Let's remember you're in Singapore right now. Would it be possible?
Hold on, everybody. Mahidur Rahman from the BNP, come in. Tasneem, you're going to come in a minute. Mahidur Rahman, come in.
Can I just say something? Okay. At present, anti-drug, narcotic campaign going on in Bangladesh, which is obviously none of us want to see that the drug dealings and Yaba is spoiling our, the new generations and everything, our young generation. We don't want that, but it should be, taken action according to the country's rule of law and everything. But at present, the country doesn't have any rule of law because even in the name of the anti-drug campaign and everything, and also political opponents are being targeted. And similarly, a lot of people have been killed, political opponent.
Not a single opponent from BNP
hundreds
had been
of people
killed.
have been abducted. Can I just say, my brother, hundreds of people have been abducted in Bangladesh, political activists and the leaders in Bangladesh, and we don't have any trace for those people. What is going on in Bangladesh right at this moment? Human rights organization in Bangladesh, as well as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, European
These
Union,
are sweeping comments which we strongly object. These are sweeping comments which we strongly object.
No, no, you can object, but what we are saying,
there is no basis for this random generalized commentary.
We don't have any freedom.
The world is seeing what is going on.
I want to bring in Tasneem.
The world has seen that we have given shelter to thousands of Rohingya refugees.
And Mahidur.
Would you kindly allow me to finish this?
Okay, very briefly, please, because you've repeated the point now.
For the civil society.
Okay.
Yeah.
Finish it because you've repeated
the point. We don't have any space for the civil society. Neither we have any space for the political opponent to oppose. Those who raise their voice against the present regime, they are being targeted by the secret force, law enforcement agency, and they are being either abducted or killed.
That is absolutely not true.
I want to bring in Tasneem Khalil now.
Filing fabricated cases.
Okay, I want to bring in Tasneem Khalil now.
Mahidur,
you're repeating yourself, please. Please, sir, I beg you, I implore you, you're repeating yourself now.
Mohibul,
give me a chance to ask Tasneem a question. Mohibul Hassan, give me a chance to ask Tasneem a question. Tasneem, is it that simple? We're hearing from Mahidur Rahman that it's a lot of it is about taking out political opponents. We're hearing from Mohibul Hassan that this is absolutely not true. Hold on, come on, please, Mahidur Rahman. You have to give me a chance to ask the gentleman a question. Now, Tasneem, we're hearing from Mohibul Hassan Chowdhoury that this is not happening at all and that these are legitimate encounters. Where does the truth lie?
Well, Imran, here we have a very nice preview of how voices are shouted down in Bangladesh these days. Mr. Chowdhoury has asked me a pointed question about how come I know things because I don't live in the country. Well, here is the thing. I mean, right before I came to the studio, Rapid Action Battalion members were beating Bangladeshi citizens on the streets of Dhaka, and they have arrested a opposition leader, sort of. I mean, he's a civil leader, Imran Shawkar, from the streets of Dhaka, simply because they wanted to speak out against extrajudicial executions. That is point number one. There is no space for speaking up against the Awami League government in Bangladesh. Number two is that it's very unfortunate to see such a decent gentleman and politician like Mr. Chowdhoury defending extrajudicial exexecutions like this on your show. I know him as a very decent politician. Mr. Chowdhoury, would you please allow me to finish my piece? I have been listening to you, and now I'm trying to respond to you, the points you brought up. Next. What happened, let me remind Mr. Chowdhoury that I actually was one of the persons who investigated the brutal extrajudicial execution of a leader of his party, Mohimuddin Mohim, from his very city, Chittagong, who was brutally tortured to death by Rapid Action Battalion back in 2004. And now the same Rapid Action Battalion unit,
during the time of BNP,
RAB 7. Yes, sir, yes, we know that. The same unit has brutally murdered someone named Ekramul Haq. And there is a tape going on in Bangladesh right now that clearly shows how people are taken to a remote location, they're shot dead, point blank, and then RAB is planting weapons and Yaba tablets on their pockets.
Let me take that point. Tasneem, let me take that point, right?
Yes.
Mohibul Hassan Chowdhoury.
Yes.
Why is it conveniently for you that RAB was capable of doing terrible things under the previous government? Hold on, let me finish the question. Why was it? Can I please finish the question? Why is it so convenient for you that RAB was totally capable of doing terrible things in the past under the BNP government, but now they're sinless and spotless under your governance? Isn't that curious?
Okay. The two individuals that Mr. Khalil has named, they belong to our political party. One died during the time of the BNP regime, and one have died recently at the hands of the Rapid Action Battalion. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We do not. No one has license to kill anybody, and each and every allegation will be investigated by the government. And I should remind you here that a couple of years back, an incident had happened in Narayanganj, and RAB individuals had been investigated and prosecuted, and one of them is actually he's in jail and he has death penalty against him. This has not happened in the past, and I can assure you, each and every death that has happened will be investigated.
What has happened to the commander? What happened to the commander responsible for that killing? Let me tell you, General Ziaul Hassan is right now, he was promoted to the rank of Major General. No, Ziaul Hassan now leads
No, he was not. The perpetrator is in jail. The perpetrator is in jail.
Sir,
the perpetrator is in jail. The commanding officer, if he bears any responsibility, he will be subjected to.
Commander of RAB at that time has been promoted to the rank of general,
so
and he now leads one of the government agencies.
So Tasneem says there's no accountability.
The person who was involved in the killing. The person who was involved.
He's saying there's no accountability up the food chain, right? I want to get a final answer from Mahidur Rahman. We're hearing from Mohibul Hassan Chowdhoury that this government will take any excesses or abuses of power seriously, and they will investigate if anybody has extrajudicially killed anybody who might not have been.
And we have done that very recently as well.
So do you believe him?
No, I don't. Because they are very good at, saying things which is not right very nicely, and to convince the world community. Right at this moment, I must say from my heart, what is happening in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is running towards one-party rule, and under any circumstances, they will try to establish that.
But are you going to disband RAB?
RAB was, as I said,
Rahman, are you going to disband RAB? Are you going to disband DGFI?
Yes. What it will be, this sort of dismantle will be decided by the government.
You don't have to disband it.
If anybody does something wrong, I tell you one thing.
Mahidur Rahman, finish your point,
institution, any law enforcing agency, it is the government decision. They have to decide when they are in the government. Right at this moment, they are doing all this extrajudicial killing, human rights violation, political leaders and activists. They don't have any space to speak out against the government's atrocity. Country is heading towards one-party rule. It is an total authoritarian rule in Bangladesh. An absolute power makes absolute corruption, and they are totally corrupted people. We are looking for a free and fair election, credible election in Bangladesh.
And clearly, the gentleman in
if there is
Singapore
no
disagrees.
Credible election, free election, then democracy will not be established.
Well,
human rights,
I'm glad we've had a free space here.
Will not be established, and rule of law will not be established.
I'm glad we've had a free exchange of ideas on this program. Unfortunately, I have to move on. But I thank you all for joining us here on the Newsmakers. Mohibul Hassan Chowdhoury, Mahidur Rahman, and Tasneem Khalil. Be well.